You know that well-worn adage of not owning a boat, but finding a friend that does? Well, Portland Spirit has lots of ways to get you out on the river this summer, including jet boat excursions to the Columbia River Gorge, daily sunset dinner cruises, champagne brunch on Sundays, and their new happy hour cruises offered Monday through Saturday. Best yet, they have bathrooms on board, a luxury most friends' boats don't have, let's be honest. Celebrating 30 years as a locally owned and operated business, book a ride with Portland Spirit at portlandspirit.com. If you're looking for a place to recharge your battery and have the most summer fun, Salishan Coastal Lodge is your ideal destination. It's over 200 acres of every activity and vibe you could possibly want. There's golf, tennis, hiking, yoga, hot tub, spa treatments, and if you're only there for the zip line, they just added 2 more. Best of all, they have a daily yappy hour with refreshments for humans and pups alike. And CityCast Portland listeners get 20% off with the code CityCast in all caps. So go book your stay today at Salishan.com. The city auditor is the ultimate watchdog of local government. Their job is to identify what's working, what isn't, and come up with ideas for how to fix it. And Portland City Auditor Simone Reddy recently released her office's audit plan for the next fiscal year. And it's pretty ambitious. They'll be looking into everything from the city's plans to address homelessness and gun violence to the city arts tax. So today on CityCast Portland, Simone is sitting down with us to talk through her big plans for the year ahead. It's Thursday, July 11th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. So, who audits the auditor, Simone?
Oh, that's a great question. So, the city of Portland and hundreds of other jurisdictions across the country are members of an organization called the Association of Local Government Auditors. So, we get audited by other auditors in our profession. And those folks come, I think, every 3 years to look at our policies and procedures and make sure that the way we're doing things is in line with the auditing standards that come from the U.S. Government Accountability Office.
Wow. That was kind of a joke question, but I can't believe it had an answer.
Well, I guess there could be an unofficial answer, too, which is the voters. At least in the city of Portland, the auditor is an elected position. And so if the voters are not pleased with her performance, they can choose accordingly.
Yeah. Could you explain what the auditor does to someone who doesn't quite get it? I do. I know exactly what you do. But I mean, I'm talking about other people.
Sure. So I think a good way to describe it is the auditor is the check on public policy. We're there to evaluate, monitor, observe, but we don't make policy. We're looking at how it's being implemented and whether those results are kind of in line with what the intent of the policy was.
So how do you choose what you're going to look into? You're like a tiny office in a pretty giant city.
Right. We have, including myself, there's just 11 of us that are doing performance audits across the city of Portland. And I guess the thing to clarify is that the elected auditor is essentially the one to make audits happen at the city. I get to choose, with the help of community members and audit staff, what we're going to look at each year. And we have to be pretty selective. We can really only take on a few new topics on any given year because our work is so in-depth and thorough.
Right.
Some criteria that I use for selecting topics is kind of what's the potential impact of the work going to be on public health and safety. And then when we're looking at each topic, we're trying to find ways to make programs more effective or efficient or improve equitable outcomes for Portlanders. So things that meet those criteria are generally ones that we consider. And then I think, since I took office, the city's started this massive transition. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to find ways to help streamline services so that members of the public are having a better experience and getting more from their government. So there's kind of unique opportunities, I think, in the last 2 years.
Right. And you're referring to the charter reform, so the new form of government that's coming in?
That's right. So the auditor's duties really don't change with the charter reforms, but it's the way that we relate to government and kind of the way it's being organized. We have a unique opportunity, I think, to see, are there ways to consolidate services or coordinate them better so that our tax dollars are going further?
That's exciting. It sounds so nerdy, but I'm like, oh, that's really exciting stuff. But it is.
It is.
You're on the ground floor.
Yeah. I think one of the misconceptions about auditing or government auditing is that it's boring. And I think it's anything but. We get to see up close how government works and compare it to best practices, and they make recommendations for improvement. It feels like a real privilege.
You know what I've noticed about some of these audits that come through, Simone? A lot of the public doesn't seem to be clued in to when the audit comes out or like what's found unless somebody covers it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I have an idea on how to get it to the forefront of the public's vision of like what's happening. We are a drinking society. Portland loves craft cocktails. We like hanging out, eating snacks. I'm thinking each audit should come with a signature cocktail. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you come out and you're like, all right, here is the Bowick. While you're reading it, this is what you're drinking. And I feel like if you did that and we participated with the like local bars and they're just like, oh, the Bowick audit's out. Here's, a new play on the Sazerac or something. I think people would clue in. Something to think about. Just put that in your back pocket.
I love that. Yeah, I'm thinking, what kind of tasting notes would we write about an audit of Bowick and 911?
Yeah.
I think we do need to be inclusive. We need to have the mocktails, the cocktails, the craft beer, the seltzer.
Yes. Well, something to percolate.
Okay.
Well, ask my next question. But, well, you have a full plate of audits on next year's schedule, and your office laid out nearly a dozen priorities last month. Well, we can't hit them all, but there are 3 in particular I'd love to ask more about. The first one being the Vision Zero program that is underway, which has aimed to eliminate traffic deaths by 2025, which was honestly the boldest statement ever. So what are you looking into? Like, what is the game plan? Are you able to share that?
Sure. So the results of that audit are going to be available this summer. Our audit is trying to look at how well the Bureau of Transportation has delivered projects from its action plan. So it developed an action plan in 2019 that said it was going to deliver a series of different safety projects involving pedestrian safety and speed limits and cameras. And so we're looking at how are they getting those projects out the door in order to get to safer streets for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, all traffic deaths. It just seems, I don't know. You're smiling, but you know what I mean.
It is ambitious, like I said. I don't think it's to be discounted, though. I mean, every life out there matters. So we need to make sure that folks are being protected and that the limited resources that the Bureau has are being used to their highest capability.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we return, the proposed Joint Office of Homeless Services audit.
Hey, it's John from CityCast Portland. Let's face it, sometimes bad stuff happens. A serious injury, a catastrophic accident, even a wrongful death. It can really turn your world upside down. And when it does, you deserve unwavering support from a dedicated team. Yeah, you need a lawyer. D'Amour Law Group has over 30 years of experience protecting the rights of Oregonians. Their team of skilled attorneys, led by the renowned trial lawyer Tom D'Amour, will work tirelessly to make sure your voice is heard and your rights are protected. Here's what one of his clients said. Tom fights for his clients from the first day they meet him through the last day of trial. So if you need help holding those responsible for your injuries accountable, contact D'Amour Law Group at 503-222-6333 or visit d'amourlaw.com to schedule a free consultation. They're committed to fighting for the justice and compensation you deserve right here in Portland.
Want to know one of my favorite sounds? Here it is. That's the sound I hear when I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. And if you want to learn a new language this year, I guarantee it'll be one of your favorite sounds too. I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, and I've been doing Babbel for a few weeks, and it's been so much fun. This week, I've been learning lots of food vocabulary and how to order in a restaurant. This is one of the things I love about Babbel, is that it's about learning the language so that you can use it. As Babbel says, it's designed by real people for real conversation. So it's all based on real life situations. And these restaurant lessons are awesome. When I went to Mexico City last year with my girlfriend, I was mute. I was a mute. But next time, I'm going to be ordering the sopes and las salsas picantes. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
We're taping this interview before the final city council vote to reauthorize the Joint Office of Homeless Services. But assuming that goes through, what are you planning to look into there? Because I heard that was also on the docket, which is exciting stuff, I think, for a lot of people.
Certainly. I think without a doubt, our homelessness crisis is top of mind for Portlanders. My office did some community engagement before setting this audit schedule, and we certainly heard from community members that we should be auditing the joint office regularly. Mm-hmm. So a risk that we identified in the last audit that we issued, which was the city's first audit of the joint office, we were looking at the shelter system, and we identified the rapid housing program as something that we should look into. It's kind of a natural next step on the continuum of homeless services, since our last audit did look at the shelter system. So we plan, assuming that the city approves the agreement with the county, we'll plan on looking at that program. And if for some reason it is not approved, we plan to pivot and look instead at the city's Portland Solutions program, which is, I'm learning, is kind of a mix of different services that the city is using to respond to our homelessness crisis.
Yeah. What I'm also wondering about is, how difficult it is to audit a program that is both city and county, because you're technically the city auditor, not the county auditor. Like, how does that work out? Like, do you have jurisdiction? Like, can you be like, can I have these files? Or they can be like, no, city auditor, like, well, how does that work?
Yeah, so typically you would stick to programs or services within your jurisdiction, but this unique arrangement that we have, where the city is giving funds and also has a governing role in the joint office and the delivery of homeless services, the city auditor should also be able to look in and provide oversight over that area. The Multnomah County auditor, Jennifer McGuirk, and I worked on some language that was approved in the version that the Multnomah County Commission reviewed and the city council reviewed recently. So we made sure that it was really spelled out there, like, yes, in fact, the city and the county can conduct audits of this new homelessness response system.
Oh, cool. So there's a precedence in a sense, or
an
allowance. What if the city votes not to reauthorize the partnership? You mentioned Portland Solutions. Is that what you're going to move to, or is there another step? Yeah,
I think because we know that homelessness is really the top issue facing Portlanders, that we want to still maintain a focus on that. And I think the next best way to do that, if we're not going to be looking at the county's work on rapid rehousing, that we would look at what the city itself is doing to address the issue.
Mm-hmm. And the other one I wanted to talk about is the City Arts Programs Management of Arts Education and Access Fund. That's such a, for one, audit that title. Also, it's the arts tax and its relationship with Regional Arts and Culture Council. What about it are you looking into? Because I got to be honest, when I found out the city was taking like full operation of all of the arts funding and arts management, I was a bit skeptical. I mean, one, I am a rack stan, just am. But also, you've just, I've seen so much mismanagement in other fields that I'm just like, really, buddy, you gonna take more on? You know what I mean? It's like when someone can't finish their homework and they're like, I'm gonna do a special project. And you're like, maybe you should finish the thing that you said you would first. So what are you looking into? Like, what is the end game here?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good metaphor. It is also a mouthful, what we put on our audit schedule. At that time, when we first added it, it was before the city decided they were going to withdraw from their contract for RAC to procure arts and culture or provide arts and culture services. So that's why we kept it kind of loose. We knew we wanted to do something about the arts tax because it is, again, something that I hear a lot about from Portlanders. Questions about how to pay it, questions about where does this money go. Our office actually did an audit, I think it was back in 2015, looking more at how the tax was collected and distributed. What I want to look at is where are these funds going in terms of supporting youth and arts education? Because there were promises made, and we want to know, were those promises kept? To your point, the city is undertaking so much at this time with the implementing charter changes. It's a really appropriate time for us to be looking kind of forward. How well is the city prepared to deliver its own arts programming if it's not going to be working with RAC to deliver those services?
So where the money is going and if the city has the capacity to actually take on the program.
Right. And I think we can learn, I think, from the way the city has contracted and structures or relationships that it's had in place. Maybe there are things we can learn, things that worked, things that didn't work, we can do better and apply in the future.
Well, what happens when these audits are complete? Like, what prevents it from just being filed away in a drawer and like everyone moving on?
Great question. So we, as you mentioned, we rely a lot on media to help get the public engaged in our audit results. We issue a press release and we try to get as many people on our mailing list as possible, which you can sign up for on our website. As far as our engagement with the auditee, the folks that we are examining, we follow up every year on the status of recommendations that we make to see what progress they've made in implementing them. And we publish those results. What we're doing is taking a bit of a different approach since I took office. So instead of doing a standalone report for every audit that's been published, we're doing more of a wholesale look at how the city is doing across audits and how well they're implementing our recommendations. This summer, we're releasing an audit impact report, which is kind of a special package of our audit recommendation status report. And it's really designed to speak directly to our newly elected leaders and our community members as a kind of a call to action. Like, here are the themes that we've been seeing over the last 5 years, and this is what you should be paying attention to when you take office.
Oh, interesting. John, our executive producer, called it a limited edition audit. And it's signed one out of 100.
That sounds really special.
See, I feel like if you start incorporating some of the things that Portlanders love into these audits, I mean, we all love accountability, but, we're talking like limited edition audits, possibly on vinyl. People love white vinyl.
Okay. I'm taking notes here.
Okay, thank you. What happens if like someone gets really pissed off? Has that happened, by the way? If someone just like gets really mad at you guys?
Oh, yeah. I think, we do have points of contact for these audits. We call them auditees, those charged with governance or implementing our recommendations. But audits are not meant to be personal. They're meant to look really at systems, structures, and how we can make them better, not attack any one individual's performance.
Right. But people still get mad is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think certainly there's something about seeing and writing feedback or criticism that makes us all uncomfortable. And I think it's on us as audit professionals to try and deliver that in the most constructive way possible.
What's the spiciest email you've ever gotten?
The spiciest email I've ever gotten. I think those have been reserved for in-person interactions.
Okay. Oh, I see. They're like, they don't want to go on the record with
No, I mean, our work is public.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, when I started delving into the work that you do, I read about the letter of education, which it has really captured my imagination, which is basically like a warning that you give people. But instead of it saying a warning, like, hey, you're treading too close to this thing, which is not ethical, you call it a letter of education, which sounds nicer, but also sounds kind of worse than a warning. Could we get one? Could CityCast Portland get a letter of education? You could find anything. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard. Find anything. We would frame that letter of education from the auditor's office. I might be a fan of this letter of education. That's all.
I appreciate the fandom on the letter of education. So letters of education.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Those we issue. It's part of our lobbying regulations program.
Oh, it's just lobbying?
It's just lobbying.
What? Well, I'm losing interest now that I know it's just for lobbying. But what if we lobby the auditor's office?
If you were to lobby any city official and do so over a certain threshold of dollars or hours and fail to register or report that you were seeking to influence city decisions, then you would certainly be a candidate for a letter of education.
This is good. We're taking notes now. Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
I do. Clickety-clack.
Okay, great. All right. Final question. What is the auditor's office signature cocktail? Just getting work done.
Oh, my goodness. We have, since my term began, done a lot of rebranding of our office. We now have this very modern depiction of a rose, and it comes in all the different colors of services that our office provides. So it's like a rose garden. I'm guessing something that we might drink would maybe have rose water in it. It's kind of our essence. It would certainly have to have clear ice cubes to represent transparency.
Oh my God. Yes. That's such or like clarified liquor. I was thinking Four Roses.
Yes.
But no, I like rose water. Rose water, a big clear cube.
A big cube.
Uh-huh.
It's tough.
It's
highly conceptual.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the most fun signature cocktail. All right. We'll get this. Maybe we'll do a trade.
That sounds great.
Signature cocktail for a letter of education, that's all. Well, thank you for all the work that you and all of your colleagues do. We'll get back to you about your signature cocktail. You've started us on a good path.
I can't wait to hear what you come up with.
Just a note that last week, the City Council did go forward with renewing their joint office contract with Multnomah County for 3 more years. And now for some events happening this week. Every Thursday on the show, we like to bring you a few recommendations to help you plan your weekend. And here's what we got. The Portland Parks and Rec's Free Movies in the Park series is kicking off this Friday. Lasting through August, all events start at 7:30 p.m. with screenings beginning as soon as it's dark enough to see the screen. And this Friday, you can watch Newsies at Overlook Park. Their full screening schedule is online. And this Saturday is also the Mississippi Street Fair. It goes from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and this is either a tip not to miss it or a warning to stay clear of the area depending on where you land with these types of events. No matter what, though, the live bands are always fun. The Portland Night Market is also happening this weekend. If you haven't been, it's a really fun time. There's tons of food, vendors, secret bars, and music. And it will be the last one until fall. So it's your last chance for a while. It goes from 4 to 11 p.m. It's free, but you can purchase a fast pass and skip the line. And trust me, there is a line. For even more local events and news, sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Portland. We'll throw all links in the show notes. Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.